I'm Chris Matteson, Head of Solutions Engineering at Prisma. And today, I'm excited to invite you to join us on our journey to become your data application platform partner. Prisma Enterprise will include both enterprise support and access to enterprise-only features. Today, we're also excited to announce the first of those enterprise-only features, data encryption. Securing your data at rest can be difficult. Traditional database vendors will offer you full disk encryption, which is great if the disks are stolen or the backup is stolen, but not so great if a web application that can access that data is compromised. You can solve this with column-level encryption, but the actual implementations can be difficult. Let's look at an example. Say I have a mortgage application. I have users that are applying for mortgages. They're going to input a lot of PII information into my web application. And that web app can then write that information into the database. Of course, that's where we have this problem. Alternatively, we could reach out to another system like, say, HashiCorp Vault or AWS KMS and use those tools to encrypt the data and then pass the encrypted data back and write that into the database. This solution allows you to separate the permissions for encrypt and decrypt, so the web application can encrypt the data, it cannot decrypt the data. So if it's compromised, somebody's not going to be able to access all the data in the database, even though the web app can access the database. Furthermore, we can have other applications, like say an analytics engine that runs against the database, but has no access to decrypt or encrypt. If it gets compromised, we're not exposing this data. And then finally, we could have, say, a more secure call center application, which will need to have access to encrypt and decrypt the data. But then we can run auditing against that so that we know exactly what was accessed, when something was accessed, and who did it. The actual implementation of this, however, is not trivial. You can't really do it in SQL because there's an infinite number of possibilities of SQL queries that can be created. And writing it yourself in your own application can result in brittle code that could potentially break your application and more that needs to be supported. Prisma Enterprise is able to give you all of this out of the box without making any code modifications. Let's go look at a demo. All right, jumping right in. You can see the Prisma schema file here. We have a new section that we've added, which is the encryptor section, and you can see we've configured this for Vault to access the Vault server. We could also have a version of this using something like AWS KMS or other native tools in order to accomplish the encryption. And then on the line field that we actually want to encrypt, we've added this add encryptor setting in order to say this is what we need to be encrypted. So let's see this in action. Here, I'm using the GraphQL example from the Prisma examples repository, except I've modified this to use the Prisma Enterprise data encryption field. So here, I'm going to go create a user, and this is Chris with a social security number, where I play, and that user gets created. If I go into Prisma Studio and refresh, I can see that user gets created and the social security number is encrypted. You'll notice that I've got other data in this database already, showing that we can do this in a way that we move into brownfield where we have a mixed use case where not everything's encrypted right out of the gate, and we can still work. And let's go back to the playground. And I can query all of the users, and you see from the application perspective, we get this back in a seamless format the way the application expects. No modification was needed to be made to any of the code, either in this example that used the Prisma Enterprise to do data encryption, or in my APIs that are going to access this backend database. Prisma Enterprise is able to handle the data encryption seamlessly on the backend. Would love to talk to you if this is of interest to you, or anything about Prisma Enterprise and support is of interest. As Hervé had already mentioned, you can reach out to us at Prisma-Enterprise. I'd love to get in contact. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Chris. That was a really interesting demo because I think that provides us a nice sneak peek into the future potential of Prisma.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to see what our customers and community think of it.
Yeah, so on that note, I'd like to invite the audience. You can participate in the Q&A by submitting your questions on Swapcard. And let's get started. Are you ready to take some questions?
Absolutely.
All right, let's start with, what is this product going to cost?
So we don't know yet. We're still working on the pricing. We plan to be competitive with the market, and obviously we're going to offer some aggressive discounting for the early adopters as we begin the early access program for the enterprise.
I see. And how does this meet sort of compliance requirements? I know that in California, they have the new regulation. In Europe, we have GDPR.
That's a fantastic question, right? Like data at rest encryption is an important piece for a lot of compliance requirements, and we're going to be able to help people meet those requirements. We haven't been specifically evaluated for the types of compliance where they require the evaluation of the technology itself, but for those that require data at rest, we can help achieve that out of the box today.
I see. And could you elaborate perhaps on some of the other enterprise features that we're building?
Absolutely. So we've got a lot of things we're working to prioritize based on the power of the underlying ORM model and all of the things we can do. Probably the one that I'm most interested in pursuing next is going to be building caching into the product so that you'll just be able to say, this is the model and this is how I'd like it cached, and therefore we'll be able to give you performance and improvements without needing to go manage all the infrastructure, right? If we look back to the governor talk for Red Monk, right? Like talking about managing all this infrastructure, and we're trying to avoid that. We're going to help you move in that path by saying, hey, here, this should be cached. You'll get a performance improvement from it. Take some load off of your backend database. Just tell us and we'll take care of it.
Right. And on that note, does that mean that Prisma is going to stop releasing open source software, or sort of how does that come in together with Prisma's open source offering?
So absolutely not. We're not going to stop doing anything in the open source. Our goal is to have the world's best ORM. And that means the core pieces for the core ORM workflow that actually make it valuable will always be free. And we continue to iterate on those will continue to be open source. What we're looking to do is take advantage of the unique place that Prisma happens to be in your data stack, and then what we can see there, and then offer extra tools which are valuable to enterprises, larger teams that want to achieve other things on that data, but otherwise wouldn't be able to build it themselves or have the ability to get in there and make those changes. But the core piece, the ORM workflow, that will always be open source and free.
Let's see if we have any questions coming in from the audience. Someone asked for the URL, but that was already sent back. So is there anything else that you would like to add before we sort of move on to the next session, which you'll also be a part of?
I'm excited for the next session. I think we'll talk a lot more about sort of my perspectives on Prisma and the ecosystem then. But what I am looking forward to is if this or anything else that somebody is interested in talking to us about Prisma and the enterprise, right? And what we'll be able to offer beyond just there's a select and growing set of features, but there's also going to be access to phone support, SLAs, enterprise architecture, TAMs, et cetera, from us, that I think will be an important part of that relationship with a large organizations that are really becoming crucially dependent on what Prisma is able to offer. And we want to be able to be the partner for people building their data platforms. And so absolutely, please reach out to us. We'll have a contact us both here and on our website to be able to do that. And you can always reach me at Matteson@prisma.io.
Cool. And on that, though, it's probably a good moment to remind our viewers that we probably still have some office hours slots open. So if you would like to go ahead and do that, you can do that via Swapcard. There's a link for the office hours. So on that note, I'd like to thank you, Chris. I'll see you in a moment. But thank you for that demo.
Thank you so much, Daniel.